3 stages to studying, the framework that if you understand could potentially change your results. Here's a guide on how to actually make studying more effective and maybe more fun. I'm Eddie G. Let's begin. Level 1. Active Recall. Active Recall is a science-backed and well-known method to actually retrieving information you study and to reinforce short and long-term memory. I've said that exact same line in my other video, the deep dive I made on Active Recall, which has become my most popular video by far. But explained simply, Active Recall is trying to engage with the material and recall it directly instead of just passively learning through methods such as reading, note-taking, or highlighting. When you recall information, you're much more likely to understand it and remember it. So I won't be talking too much. That's why, to make it easier for myself and for you, the following clips are played directly from my Active Recall video. I'm going to explain the 9 methods that I've used for Active Recall that I know pretty much works. Okay, method number 1, interleaving. So this is where you mix up chapters, topics, questions, and review and test yourself randomly or differently than you usually would, so you can learn the material more effectively. Method number 2, flashcards. So these are basically questions and answers. There's 2 ways you can implement it: physically or digitally. Physically is through actual cards, writing the question on the front and the answer on the back, and then digitally there's obviously many apps that you can use, such as Quizlet or Anki. And making flashcards as you learn instead of when studying before an exam is much more effective, as you can just review all those flashcards when it's actually time. If you want to learn for essays or a longer answer, write one that is pitch perfect, keep practicing, keep rewriting over and over again, and then compare it at the end, and over time you'll fill in the gaps. Number 3, similar to flashcards and a method that I personally use, is creating toggle sheets. Type out a question, and then when you click the toggle, it will show the answer underneath. Then when you study, you can just go back over these. And to be even more efficient, it's like flashcards, do this as you learn throughout the year, and also avoid writing in the answers. So at the end, when you're actually studying before the exams, you can look back over these toggles and fill in the answers yourselves. And obviously without looking back at the information, because when after you recheck it, see if you got it correct or incorrect, and then look back at the incorrect ones. For this, I would use Notion, but there are also apps such as RemNote, or you can simply use Google Sheets. Number 4, a very popular one, mind maps. Now just to keep in mind, some of these methods will work for some people, but some will not. For me, mind maps only works sometimes. But like before, you're scoping a topic and try without looking when you're first doing it. Then you look back and fill in the missing points. So a mind map could be a brief one before studying, re-jog your memory, or it could be a deep spider diagram with every little detail of a topic. So you'll start in the middle with the title, then expand out in branches like a tree, fill out absolutely everything you know on a topic. Repeating this will actually allow better memory of a topic, especially if you don't look back at the information. Number 5, blurting. First, you will read the topic. You don't have to read it. Then you get a blank page, write down everything you know, and then look back and fill in the missing points. Number 6, there's no other better method to study to actually use questions, papers, whatever other resources you have. Answer them first and go back and then correct it. Then try remember the information that you got wrong. And another way to learn through past papers and questions is to put yourself in an exam situation, exactly how you would write a normal exam. So it's basically a practice test. Number 7, use color coding. Get something right, or if you complete something, in green. If you don't, in red, and if you're in the middle, a yellow. This might apply to any method that you use, and it's extremely useful for quickly identifying where you went wrong, where you went right, what you've completed, or what you haven't completed. Number 8, speak, whether to someone else, a 5-year-old, to the wall, teach the topic. So this is back to the Feynman technique again. Another way to implement it is through stopping and reciting. So when you read a topic, you stop, you recite the information in your own words, and it doesn't even have to be when you're reading. Number 9, if you want to do well in your future exams, then you have to start as early as possible. And this is where the immediate review comes in useful. So in your own time, or every day preferably, especially in a year with exams, you should look back over the material that you learn. It doesn't even have to be through active recall. Even if you're reading, doing homework, asking questions, and connecting the dots, it will improve the overall memory of a topic. So just look back what you learned that day or prior. To let you know, this is not all the information that I had in that video, and I go much more in depth into active recall there. So if you would like to check it out, it's on my channel, and I'll also link it up for you at the end of this video. Level 2, spaced repetition. Spaced repetition is studying and recalling information at increasing intervals over time. For example, I will study today once, then again in 2 days, then 5 days, 2 weeks, a month, etc. It mightn't work for every method you use because it is very repetitive and pretty hard if you have a lot of subjects to study. And the last thing you want to do when studying is cramming. But if spaced repetition is applied effectively, then it could really help. But there are 2 things to keep in mind, however. 1, Focus on the subjects or topics that you need more focus on, the ones that you struggle with the most, the ones that you need to study. And secondly, do not over-rely on spaced repetition because realistically you're not going to get through every detail of a subject. And there's one method that I've found particularly helpful that utilizes everything in spaced repetition: the retrospective revision timetable. It will provide a visual of all your topics and subjects, when you study each, how well you know each, and it makes it easy to add any relevant spaces or intervals between each of the times you study the topics. Unlike before, so that it's easier for you and me, I'm going to be playing a clip from my other video on the spaced repetition deep dive. And this is a complete guide on how you can make the retrospective revision timetable for yourself directly from that video. A retrospective revision timetable is very straightforward. So for the timetable, you can use Notion, Google Sheets, or what I'm using in this case, Excel. And on Notion, creating this database would be different and a bit more complicated, so I would stick to one of the other two. And when you have access to one, create a blank document. Step number 2, you're going to create a slide or section for each course or subject you have. However, if you want to save more space or storage on your device, I would recommend making a blank document or sheet for each, because what happened last year is I ran out of space and my whole thing got erased. So unless you don't have a lot of subjects, make sure you have enough storage for this. Step number 3, you're going to add a title in the top corner for topics or subsections that you have in the subject, and underneath this you're going to list all the topics that you have. And number 4, the rest of the space is for all the magic. Whenever you study a specific topic within this subject, you're going to add a date on that row, and you're going to do the same as you study each topic and continue adding to that row. And this way you'll know exactly when you studied them, and you can add relevant intervals or spaces between each study session, and you can keep adding dates to the adjacent boxes. Step number 5, whoever watched my active recall video will know how great this is, and that is color coding. And basically you're just going to color code each of the boxes you place a date in. As you do so, after a study session, you will first put in the date, and then on top of that, color in the box in one of 3 colors. Red if you can't understand or remember anything on that topic, or if you feel like you don't know it well enough. Yellow if you're in the middle of knowing a topic, you have a good understanding of it but difficult to remember. And green if you understand and remember the topic really well and you're pretty much confident to do any exam on it. And if you want any other options, feel free to add any other colors or levels as you wish. And trust me, doing this will give you a much better understanding of where you are and how well you know each topic, as well as reminding you to focus on what really matters. So when you have a baseline along all the topics, you know that you have to prioritize the reds and yellows before the greens. What's really good about the retrospective timetable is so easy to make. Instead of spending your time making a specific time-blocked calendar of study schedules before an exam, it will save so much of your time and you'll know exactly what to study and even when to study it next. And this is probably the only and the best method that I know on spaced repetition myself. So that's it. Make the timetable, you study, fill in the date, how well you know it, and you could even give yourself a reminder of when to study it next. I would highly recommend that you go through each topic very briefly first before moving on, so you can establish a baseline color to move on with, and it gives you better understanding of each of the topics. So if you want to know more on spaced repetition, I'll do the same and link that at the end of this video, or you can find it on my channel. Level 3. Focus. So the final stage to be able to study extremely well is being able to focus, beat procrastination, and actually lock in. So here are 10 ways to do exactly that. Number 1, do not rely on motivation, because nothing else is going to help you get started on a task, and no one is coming to save you before your exams. And the moment you realize this, you might be wondering that you need motivation to start studying, or anything in general. But really, all you need is for yourself to get up and do the thing. And that's how you beat that cycle of searching for motivation. I love this concept from Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, where he explains that action isn't just the effect of motivation, it's also the cause of it. So by doing some studying, you will actually generate motivation, and in some way it will help you study again in the future. All you have to do is get up and do the thing. And instead of relying on motivation, perhaps rely on discipline. And that smoothly brings us on to number 2, how to actually do something or get started on something. And for this I have none other than the 2-minute rule. Say to yourself that you'll do this thing for just 2 minutes, then decide whether you should continue or not. Most likely you will have the energy to move on, because you've already gotten into the flow and there's no point in going back. So take everything out, sit down on your desk, and actually start doing anything for 2 minutes. Related to study, of course. Number 3, chunking. It might sound weird, but trust me when I say this. Build a system around how you study. Don't just dive into a topic or subject without any clear objective. Ideally, you should have a few methods picked out with a clear structure on what you're going to do, such as those methods that I mentioned in the active recall part. Choose some of them and be able to understand the topic and remember it. For example, you could start by mind mapping the topic out, then perhaps look through some flashcards or toggles, and finally use some past questions to exam yourself. And this way you have chunks of tasks to complete when studying, allowing you to focus much better because you know where you're going. It'll also help you stay organized, and after this you can of course mark it off on your table. Number 4, limit any distractions. The key to focus is getting rid of anything that breaks it in the first place. Phones, put them on silent mode, put them on do not disturb, and get them out of sight when studying. Only check it quickly when during breaks, or even better when you're actually finished all your study. If your environment distracts you in any way, whether through sight, sounds, or devices, anything, make sure to get rid of those things once you've identified them. Or maybe you could even go somewhere else. Number 5, use a timer. Extremely helpful as it creates a sense of urgency when working or studying, allowing you to focus better and get through your work more efficiently. You choose any times you want, the Pomodoro technique being by far the most popular, I think. 25 minutes you study, 5-minute break, and repeat the cycle. But find out whatever works, because 25 minutes might be too long or too short. For me, it was kind of too short. I went up to 40 minutes of study with a 5-minute break, which worked perfectly for me. And regularly take some longer breaks as well. And that's also another thing. Don't expect yourself to grind through what you want to study in such a short amount of time, because it's very unrealistic and will most likely burn you out. And that's why breaks are so powerful, because it actually builds back energy and you come back ready to learn and remember more. Breaks with less devices will be better for focusing when you come back. So perhaps get up, stretch, walk around. That's what a real break is. Number 7, music. Songs with lyrics generally do not work for a lot of people, and it is pretty bad because it can derail your focus. However, if you do like listening to music, you could try instrumental, lo-fi, or any calming sounds in the background. This will allow a good flow of focus. However, I do still think silence is best no matter what, because it puts you in that exam sort of environment and situation. But sometimes if I feel like it, I'll play something soft in the background on my speaker. And all of this is part of your workspace. And that's number 8. Keep a clean, nice, tidy workspace. Make sure everything is organized, and make sure you have only what you need out on your desk and put everything else away. And trust me, it will reduce a lot of mental clutter and keep you much more clear-headed, especially when you know where everything is, and ultimately improving your focus. Now, when editing this, I realized I should have mentioned that some people actually prefer to study in an unorganized workspace, and for many people this might be their sweet spot of focus, and if it is you, then you don't have to take anything I said into account. Just find your flow. Another thing in relation to environment is where you study. Perhaps finding somewhere new could benefit you in some way or another, and this could be somewhere quiet in public or even another room. Number 9, health. Never, and I mean never, take your exams or studying more important than your health, because it can and it never will be as important as your health. Sleep. If you're cramming in your nights and you cannot sleep, you have to take a breath and stop. Not immediately, but slowly bring back your sleep schedule and get in some hours if it means anything. In fact, it's during our sleep when our brain builds these neural connections, helping our memory and allowing us to learn the information we studied. So please prioritize it if you want good results. Next up, we have diet. Keep it healthy. Limit any junk food you consider and be the healthy person. Exercise, of course, it impacts everything, and not only your physical health but also your mental health. It will increase and improve your focus, and genuinely it does improve your energy especially. And finally, don't forget to spend your time with the people around you, your family, your friends, because more than anything else, people are what gives you the most energy. And finally, number 10, speaking of friends, you might like to study with them. For this, 2 rules to remember. Number 1, choose the right people, and number 2, learn to follow the first rule. But on point, it's a great way to learn, and it will give you so much motivation during your study to keep going and even not stop. You'll even have someone else to go up with you. If you want another great idea, is to go on a call with your friends, which also works perfectly fine. There's actually another level that I thought of when making this video, and that is fun. I know what you might think. How are you supposed to have fun when studying? And to be honest, I don't think you always can. Some people might, others certainly not. So if you want to make studying or anything else fun, I don't have any tips and tricks or anything, but it's totally up to you. Ask yourself, what would this look like if it were a bit more fun? And then add that sense of enjoyment to whatever it is. But in this case, studying. This could be taking more breaks, adding music, finding other people to study with. These are all things that provide fun and make a game out of studying. Use your brain, think creatively, and find some ways maybe you can enjoy studying even if it's just for a few minutes. Also keep in mind, all of this is for a number or a text on a piece of paper or online. Come on, it might be important. I'm sure it is for a lot of people watching. Really, it will never be as important as all the other things that you've got in your life. Don't take it as seriously as you're taking it right now. Slow down, take some more breaks, enjoy your time, study well. Also while studying, while achieving great things without stress. Don't be afraid and go out there and do your best. Those are the 3, now 4 stages to studying effectively. The videos I mentioned are up on the screen now. I hope you learned something on how to study better. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you again very soon. Goodbye.